welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Darlene, and today we are taking a peek inside my kitchen, and I'm going to be sharing with you two one-pot dinner recipes. And I was really looking forward to, after the holidays, getting back into the kitchen. I think for the month of December, I shared a lot of that with all of you for Vlogmas, and if you are new, the playlist is down below. I just wanted to keep dinners really simple and just kind of make the foods that everybody likes, and just, you know, focus on all of the busyness and all of the extra things that you get to enjoy during the month of December. But now that the holidays are over, I really wanted to get back into the kitchen and make some home-cooked meals. So we are gonna start off with a one-pan chicken parmesan. The recipe will be linked down below if you want to recreate this one. So it says 2 to 3 boneless, skinless, boneless chicken breast. I'm using 3 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I have the garlic. I thought it went in now, but it goes in later. And then I'm just going to use salt and pepper for seasoning. So I'm using my cast iron Dutch oven, a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to add my chicken in here. And then I'm also going to season this up. Now, this is one of those things whenever you are making real chicken parmesan, usually you're kind of making a crust with the chicken and getting the seasoning in here. So this is kind of, you know, eliminating that step and having the one pan. So while that is just browning up and getting all flavorful, I have my garlic ready to go. I just used the one out of the jar. I don't use a lot of garlic, and I just find this is a lot more convenient. And instead of a yellow onion, I used a white onion. Now this Dutch oven doesn't seem to be in as great a shape as the other one that I have. This one is a lot older, and I think I might not have taken as good of care of this one as I did with my other one. So as you can see, the chicken, it's not cooked all the way through, but I'm going to be adding it back in. So I have to dirty up another plate to make this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and then add in the onion and the garlic and just cook this for a little bit. Now the other thing is, when you do recipes like this, if you don't have exactly what it says, you kind of have to compromise sometimes. So I didn't have like a Newman's Own 24-ounce jar of marinara, and I know the liquid and water ratio is very important for the pasta. So I just went ahead and used 24 ounces of the Rayo's marinara and then 24 ounces of water. I just went ahead and put it in the jar to get the little bits. So you can see this is very brown down at the bottom, and my other one doesn't do it. So it just says to add in the pasta sauce and then also add the water into this, and then you're supposed to bring it to a boil and then reduce it to a strong simmer, and I did that. And then you add in the chicken and the pasta, and that's all I'm doing now. I just want to make sure that all of the pasta gets down in the liquid so it can cook with it. So all I have to do now is let the pot do all of the work, and I'm going to go ahead and get things ready. So it calls for half a cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 cup of mozzarella, and I'm just going to stir this around, making sure that all of the pasta is cooking, and it seems to be doing really good. It's a lot of pasta. That's one of the things I find whenever you make like pasta dishes with recipes. Sometimes it can just be a little bit overpowering. So I just let it cook for 10 minutes, and then I did it for another 5, and it seems to be still a little bit liquidy, but I also know that the cheese is going to be added in, and then it's going to help thicken it up. So I just used like the Kraft Parmesan cheese. I didn't have any fresh Parmesan, like enough to do this. So I'm just stirring that in, and then 1/4 cup of the mozzarella, and then it just says to put the rest of the mozzarella on top, and I like to put a little bit of parsley on top too. I just think it looks really nice. And then it says to let it cook for another 22 to 3 minutes, but I just put the lid on and then just let it sit. I turned the heat off. So it looks really nice, but once you put it into the bowl, it kind of takes away from the presentation. So I had a little bit of fresh Parmesan. I put that on top with a little bit more parsley. So there is our one-pot chicken Parmesan pasta. That was the one-pot chicken Parmesan, and I was all excited because it was from a website called The Chunky Chef, and I'm like, you know, they always say never trust a thin chef, and the reviews on it were really, really good. But personally for myself, I didn't think it was like anything simpler for myself. I found like, if anything, I was like having to time a lot of different things and take things out of the pot and then add this and then figure out all the liquids to the pasta ratio. And I just didn't find it really simplified, you know, making dinner that much. But it was tasty. Everything was kind of in one pot. and it made quite a bit. So we were able to have it for dinner, a couple of leftovers, and I even froze some of it. So I definitely don't think I would make it again, but I'm definitely going to be looking for more recipes like this. And if you have any recommendations, put them in the comment down below and maybe I will check them out. So the second recipe I'm sharing with you is a soup, and I was really excited to try this one. I had the recipe out on the counter for a couple of days, and my husband was really looking forward to trying it too. So here is a sausage and bean soup made in one pot. The recipe calls for 1 pound of bulk Italian sausage. Now where I live, trying to find just sausage not in the casing is really difficult, and I just go ahead and buy the sweet Italian or the mild Italian sausage, and then I just use a little paring knife and I just cut a slit down the back of the sausage, and then I just take the casing off. I don't find it's that hard, but I just wanted to share it with you just in case you couldn't find like the bulk sausage. You could even cut up the sausage into little bites if you wanted to with the casing on. I've done that before too, but I don't find this is that hard to do. And I will also link the recipe down below that you can follow it. And I've been looking for a lot of soup recipes just because it's January and there's nothing better than a nice comforting bowl of soup on a cold winter's day. Now it didn't say to add any oil to the pan, and I figured because there's going to be some fat from the sausage. So all I'm going to do is just take my wooden spoon and incorporate the sausage in with the onion. And I know that this is going to be a nice base for the soup too, just because of all of the different seasonings and spices and everything that's in the sausage. And also you're going to get that little bit of fat. So it just says to cook the onion over medium heat until meat is no longer pink, and then add the garlic and cook for 1 minute longer. While that is cooking, I'm going to get the rest of my ingredients ready. Called for 4 cans, 14.5 ounces each of reduced chicken sodium broth. I'm just going to use this one box that I have. It's 900 milliliters. I'm going to add some water to it also. And then it called for 1 cup of medium pearl barley. This is the only barley I can find. And then it called for 2 cans of pinto beans rinsed and drained. I'm only using 1. It also called for a can of diced tomatoes undrained, and then a large carrot and a celery rib. I put a little bit more, and then also some fresh sage, but I don't have it, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the ground sage. And that's really all that you're going to need for this. So it said to drain it, but I want to keep a little bit of the fat in the pot for some flavor. So all I did was just kind of lift my pot up to tilt all of the fat down, and I just used a paper towel to absorb it, and then I'm just going to put it in my compost. So really, that's what this is now, is a 1-pot meal. I'm just going to put all of my ingredients in here and just let the pot do all of the work. And I think, you know, whenever recipes are changing and you find different things, we're definitely in some different times right now where we can't always find everything that we need in a recipe. Sometimes you have to make your own judgment. 2 cans of beans, I really felt for this recipe was just going to be too much. And then the 1 can of diced tomatoes, I felt like it wasn't really a lot of tomato flavor to this. So I'm thinking, you know, what else can I add to this to kind of beef it up, give it a little bit more flavor? Because I didn't think that this was going to be very tasty. So one of the things that I always like to do is have tomato paste in my pantry. I'm also going to put some extra salt and pepper in here and the sage, but I really felt like this was missing something, that the broth was going to be a little bit bland. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my can of tomato paste and just put this in because I think it's going to thicken up the broth and give it a little bit more flavor too than just what the recipe called for. Now all I have to do is bring this to a boil, put the lid on, and let it cook and simmer for about 45 minutes. Really, I know that this is going to bulk up with the barley, and you know, I just went over all of the measurements, all of my liquids were right. I actually used more liquid than I was supposed to. So 45 minutes, and some of my lighting is a little bit darker here. I do apologize, but I'm actually cooking this at dinner time. So it's not like I'm cooking it in the middle of the day just to, you know, have something to share with you. This is me actually cooking dinner for my family, and Andrew was also having some of the pasta that was left over. So here it is after the 45 minutes. There's still quite a bit of liquid in here, but I tested the carrots and everything. Everything was done. And then it said to stir in the kale and return to a boil, reduce heat, cover and simmer for another 25 to 30 minutes until the vegetables are tender. I am not a big kale lover, but I do like spinach. So I'm just putting in this whole container of the spinach. I'm just putting it at the top because I want to wilt it down, and then I just stirred it in here. I'm not cooking it for another 25 to 30 minutes, and I couldn't even imagine having like 2 cans of beans in here. This is so hearty. So the spinach, like, I just wilted it down. I kept all of the liquid from the spinach to keep it in the soup, and this is how I presented it. No more Parmesan. I put a little bit of the shredded mozzarella with some parsley, and we just had some breadsticks in the freezer. I gave my husband more of a stew, and then I wanted a little bit of broth because I really do like more of like a soup style. I like a little bit of liquid and then dip my breadstick in. So this was the soup, a very hearty. I'm really glad that I added in the tomato paste. Lots of leftovers. Honestly, I would have cut back the barley to half a cup. I found the 1 cup was just a little bit too much. Very hearty, very filling, more of a stew, I would say, than a soup. And after I looked at the picture, like, the picture looks very, very liquidy, more like a soup than a broth. So I did everything according to the instructions. So I feel like I didn't do anything wrong. And what am I going to do with all of this? Well, I'm going to freeze some of it. So the clear container, I'm going to freeze this. We're going to eat. I think you could add a little bit more liquid to it too, or just heat it up and kind of eat it like a stew. So we're definitely going to get quite a few meals out of this, and then the leftovers. And then it's nice to have something too in the freezer. Even if it's just for myself, it's a couple of lunches for me, and I will appreciate this on a cold winter's day. Soup was very hearty, and I kind of explained to you too all of the different changes that I had to make. And I think that's one of the things too, especially in the world that we are living in now. You know, we're going to the grocery store, the prices are going up and the sizes are getting smaller, and this soup was very hearty. I couldn't even imagine putting 2 cans of beans in it. 1 can of beans, and I think it really would have been much better with only half a cup of barley. And I felt like I bought a lot of ingredients that I normally didn't have because I really wanted to try this soup. And there's nothing wrong with getting excited about a recipe and buying ingredients to make it. But this soup I found was just okay. I'm really glad that I put the tomato paste in it because I always find this tomato paste thickens it up, gives it a little bit more flavor. And I really felt like without that tomato paste, it would have been a little bit blah. But if you were cooking for a large group, if you wanted something nice and hearty that you needed leftovers, I would definitely recommend it. Now, would I make this again? I think that I might possibly make it again, but I would definitely kind of maybe tone it down a little bit. I found it was very hearty, very thick. It did make quite a bit, so maybe could I possibly half the soup, or could I cook half of it and then whenever I freeze it and then thaw it, then add in the barley? That would probably be a nice soup to have, and then just add the barley so it'd be nice and fresh. So there's lots of different ways that you can make something, freeze it, but this time was my first time making the recipe. So, you know, one of the things on my channel is I want to share with you figuring things out. So if you look at a recipe and you say, you know what, this doesn't sound that great, or I think this might be better, or I might be able to make this kind of a substitution. And that's what I like about cooking. I really like that whenever you are cooking and following a recipe, you can change some different things. Because with cooking, unless you're kind of doing that ratio with like rice and pasta with the liquids, you can kind of like add things, take things out to kind of suit your family's needs, compared to with baking. We all know baking is a little bit of a science with the magic of the flour and the dry and the wet and all of that, and getting things to rise and look perfect. Cooking is a little bit, sometimes that can be a little bit more instinctive. And you know what? I'm really glad that I got back into the kitchen and made a couple of recipes, but it also made me appreciate just kind of making things from scratch, or just kind of being creative and all of that. And that's some of what I want to share with all of you in the year of 2023 too. So 2 recipes. I'd say one was a miss and one was partial hit. I definitely think I would try the soup again, but I think I'd change it a little bit to make it more of my own soup. And I think that's one of the things that when you get comfortable in the kitchen and you experiment with recipes, you can take a recipe off the internet that you find, but you can take it and change it into something that your family will love. So if you're new, please subscribe, and I look forward to making more videos like this for all of you to watch in 2023. And I'm talking about cooking for 1, cooking for 2, freezer meals, cooking from scratch, using boxed ingredients, using a little bit of everything, because I don't know about you, that's how I cook dinner for my family. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again in my kitchen to make some more recipes. So have an amazing day, friends, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.